Let's cross to Western Victoria now and catch up with the blogger to the Nation, Daily Telegraph columnist Tim Blair. Good to talk to you, Tim. You'd be loving that new Bud Light ad, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And frankly, I do say it like that. At any point when I'm moving, getting up, sitting down, whatever, I'm pushing 60 now, and the sounds aren't as your panel's decided. They're not pretty sounds.
I'd like to see the script that the creatives at the ad campaign sent into Bud Light. It says grunt, grunt, moan, grunt, but somehow they managed to pull it off.
I think the only people who got rejected in that would have come in underweight.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I've got to get your thoughts first up on what's happening in regional Australia. It's happening in Victoria and New South Wales especially, with these transmission lines that are going in and the compulsory acquisition of land, farmers' objections just overruled, and similar things are happening where wind turbines are going in and solar farms are going in. All the activists are in the city, in the Teal city seats, but all the people who have to put up with the infrastructure are out in the regions.
You're right, Chris, and there's actually a bigger urban-rural divide here than we first suspect. Last week, Anthony Albanese actually came to my part of the world in the Wimmera Mallee, got yelled and shouted down and had to leave because people were protesting there about these transmission lines. Now, in cities, especially Sydney, it's very obvious. They'll go to enormous expense, massive, colossal expense to keep things underground. Road tunnels are a great example of that. Those things cost a fortune. Much cheaper to go the American way and have overpasses and those huge cloverleaf things. I mean, you can put them up, you can knock them down when things get too busy or cities take a different path. Those things are pretty cheap, but they're not pretty to look at.
Yep.
In the bush, they're not allowed to put things underground. No. The cost is too great. Everything's got to be above ground. It's got to take up areas that would be devoted to farming, that would impose, they can impose incredible restrictions on just the way mechanised farming devices get around properties. It's really invasive, it's really bad, and the farmers have got a damn good case to oppose it. And again, I repeat, the urban-rural divide here is immense. People just don't understand what the country folk are going through when their farms are impacted this way.
You're spot on. It's a great paradox to point out because we keep hearing it costs too much to put them underground. And of course, our cities are full of these big underground road projects and rail projects. They're putting all that underground. They don't mind the extra cost for city folk. We've got to keep our eyes on this because this is an issue that's just going to keep going case by case right around the country. But I've got to get your thoughts on the cricket. I heard you talking to Joe Hildebrand on radio the other day. Now we've had the Prime Minister's weigh in, predictably on the same side as their old teams. I think we've got some English front pages here where it's a lot of fun. I mean, they know how to do a tabloid headline in the Pommy papers. Look at this one, barefaced sneak. That's the great Alex Carey being dubbed the barefaced sneak. Another one says same old Aussies. Well, the good thing about Anthony Albanese, he said, same old Aussies always winning. But this stuff is just golden, isn't it? We just want to keep rubbing it in because the Poms are absolutely most worried about being 2-0 down.
Absolutely. Same old Aussies. Albo was right. Same old Aussies as we were for most of the early 2000s, throughout most of our cricket history. Ever since, I think, the first test ever, 1877, Australia beat England by 45 runs. 100 years later, we did the same, Chris. So, I'm happy for this to keep going. It's oftentimes it's very good when sport jumps from the back pages to the front pages and it becomes bigger than it is. Sometimes it's bad, obviously, but in this case, I think it's actually going to be a net benefit. It's going to make things a very exciting thing. Great throw there. I could watch that a million times. I probably have. It's terrific.
I reckon you'd find Alex Carey is a Adelaide Crows supporter too, but just by the way, stand to be corrected. Hopefully he's not one of those port blokes. But I've got to show you a little bit more of this clip, this TikTok clip that points out Stuart Broad's hypocrisy from when he basically got one in the middle of his bat and put it into first slip. And here's more of that TikTok clip.
Broad walk. Why didn't Broad walk like Fred can see?
Yeah, blind man can see, all right. Bit of a Harry Potter reference in there too. Why didn't he walk? He's into the spirit of the game. He should have walked.
Absolutely. Well, if you think about it, all they've got to do, Bairstow and Broad, is switch their strategies. Bairstow walked and got himself out. Broad got out and didn't walk. Just switch things around, kids, and it'll all be hunky-dory. You'll be fine.
They should chat sometime, those two.
Maybe they should.
I think Bairstow might want to lose a few pounds too, because I reckon he missed a catch or two because he was just a little bit heavy. Take it a little bit easy, I think, Mr. Bairstow.
Well, yes, but you need some heft behind you when you. I mean, this is something in his favour. He did carry off a Just Stop Oil protester
yes.
on the first morning of the test, which we should not ignore. That was an epic achievement, and hats off to him on that one.
Yeah, he that was a high point and a low point a day or two later. Speaking of climate protesters, let's check in on Greta Thunberg. Last time we saw her, she was in Ukraine meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. Here she is now on a train, and it's a protest. She's got the mask on. She's got the COVID mask on. We don't know why. She thinks she's the member for Kooyong, I presume. But she says that when you travel without flying, you often find yourself stuck on trains non-stop for several days. Today is one of those days, which means that the Friday strike this week will be from a train. Presumably a coal-fired steamer or maybe one with a coal-fired electricity running through the rails.
Well, let's, she's complaining about being delayed for several days. Let's put her in an EV. Let's put her in an electric car. It might be several months. Might drag those little trips of hers out even further. Oh, there she is, and there's a military leader. There you go.
Let's hope she put that plastic mask in a bin, adding to our waste problems. Thanks for joining us, Tim. We'll catch you next week.